Ciao, guys. Welcome to another episode of the Personal PR Show. And today we are here with Chris. Chris Fenning is in the house. Actually, Chris Fenning is back in the house because this is the second interview with us on a Personal PR Show. Welcome, Chris. How are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm very good. Thank you. Very good indeed.
Awesome. That is great. Great to hear. So where are you today? Because every time I talk to you, you're in a different place, it seems.
I'm back in the Netherlands today. And if you spoke to me at the end of the week, I'd be in the UK.
Oh, wow. So you're going there for Christmas?
Yes. Yeah. On the family road trip, dotting around all of the different places to catch up with people we've not seen for a while.
Wow. This is going to be a lot of fun, especially after 2.5 years of COVID. Awesome. Well done. Well done. But Chris, today we're here to talk about your new book that is coming out, right? When did you launch it? This week? Last week?
It was last week. Came out on the 6th of December, officially came out on the 6th of December. I actually made a little confession for those who look at the dates on Amazon. I accidentally published it a few days early, but the official publication date was the 6th of December. The lesson is absolutely make sure you look at every checkbox before you click yes.
I love how you are able to always extract a lesson from anything that happens, always. Like for me, You are Mr. Repurpose, Mr. Leverage, Mr. I don't know, like anything happens and you will be able to leverage it, to repurpose it. Everything will still have a function. I love that. Even if it wasn't planned. Yes. Yeah. Maybe this is an art. This is definitely an art. Yes. And I'm reading here that today's conversation has this title, How to Have Your Book Write Itself. What does it mean, Chris? And what is the context now with your book launch and this angle?
Yeah. Well, I say you and your team came up with the title and I love it because in some ways it's exactly what happened. And in other ways, the book didn't write itself. There's still a lot of effort involved, but I want to clarify sort of what it means to have it write itself. And to do that, I'm going to give two numbers. The first number is the number of hours it took me to write my first book. And the second number is the number of hours it took me to write the first draft of my first book. So 300 hours is what it took me to write the first draft of my first book.
Oh my God.
The book I published last week, the first draft took me 11 hours to write.
God,
now, there's a big difference. And I imagine some people are going to be saying, oh, it must have been awful. You did it, write it in a weekend. You can't possibly create anything useful in that time. And a year ago, from a year ago would have absolutely agreed with that and said, of course you can't do that. And these courses that say, write your whole book in a weekend from scratch. No, that's not what this is. I still put a lot of time and effort into the content, but the time it took me from actually saying, right, I'm going to start writing and typing the first draft of this book to having it ready and sent out to beta readers was 11 working hours spread over 4 or 5 days. But it was 11 hours of working from saying, all right, now I'm going to write the book to getting it out to beta readers. A lot of work before that. And a lot of work happened after that to go from beta reader through to published book. There's still editing, rewrites, all of that stuff. You can't avoid that. But the first draft writing, much, much faster.
I mean, 300 hours and 11 hours. Oh my God. So the third book that you're publishing will be, I don't know, 30 minutes to put together.
No, I think probably anywhere between 10 and 20 hours, I will be really happy with. Really happy with. And I'm on the next book already, and that process is looking like it'll be around 15 hours for the next one.
15 hours? Okay. No, because you just told us that last year you would have agreed. You said, okay, everybody would have thought that it would take you, an eternity to write a book. And the you from last year would have agreed, right? But the you from this year knows that 11 hours is totally possible. So maybe the you from next year will be like, yeah, 30 minutes, of course, 30 minutes.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, okay. Well, let's bring me back in a year and see what happens. But I'm fairly happy with getting it down to this.
Okay, yes, absolutely. I mean, that would be my dream. Yes, exactly. But now we know the outcome of this, Chris, but what happened behind the scenes? What did you do, or what happened in order for this to happen, to make this possible, these 11 hours possible? And by the way, I have to say that we have Martina. Yes, Martina is watching up from Boston, and she's super interested in this topic. So probably we'll have questions from her as well. So I keep an eye on chat, just so you know. But in the meantime,
great.
Listening to you with great interest.
So what you just said is so important. There's a lot of preparation. I didn't sit down and think, now I'm going to write a book, and 11 hours later, now I've got something I'm happy to share with the world. That's not what happened. So while it's easy to say it took 11 hours, the real value is in the process and what happens before. And as the title of this session said, the book wrote itself, but it doesn't mean it doesn't take much time. Yeah. So the process starts with having an idea. And end to end, from idea to published book, for me, is around 10 to 12 months. And that is going to be different for different people. And it'll also depend on where you are in the maturity of your idea. If you're just starting out as trying to grow your reputation or expertise, and you're teaching something new and still finding the models that you want to teach, it's going to take longer. If you've been teaching something for 20 years and it's now time to write your book, 12 months from I'm going to start this through to having the actual book is definitely possible. Of course, everyone is different and works at different speeds and needs a different amount of editing help. But the way that I make it simpler, it's not the way. There are loads of different ways to go about writing books. But the way that I do it is I start with an idea. And that idea comes from looking out at the rest of the world, listening to what my customers or potential customers say are their problems or their goals, and what are they trying to achieve. And everything starts with, what are they trying to achieve? So where's that goal, that point on the horizon? Where are they now? And then what are the problems that stand between them? So they're over here, they're trying to get over here, and like, what's in the middle? And then I pick one problem and go and find the solution. If I already know the solution or can pull from different methods, that's great. If I don't, I start working it out. And the process is really, really simple to start. In the case of effective emails, that's this book. The problem was emails at work suck, and people don't like receiving them. There were other problems, which were I don't get responses to my emails, or I ask 3 questions but only get 1 in reply, and I hate group chain email, and all of those were problems. And so I took the list of 5 or 6 different problems and said, okay, what is my advice for avoiding that, solving it, making it better? And I just came up with 3 to 5 tips for each problem for what to do. So how to get people to open your emails is write better subject lines. Okay, the next bit is really key. How do you do that? Not just what to do, but how to do it. So get people open your emails at work. This is not sales or marketing, but at work, write a good subject line. What should be in it? Well, include the topic and the purpose. What is it about, and what is the recipient meant to do with it? If you include those 2 things, people will be able to make better choices about reading your email or not, and they'll get the right impression. Well, that's 3 tips. That's a single social media post just coming out of my head and putting it on paper. And I go through that process of coming up with tips and then how to for all of those particular problems and topics. And I write them as social posts. And then I record a 1-minute video for each tip. So write a good subject line, I do a 1-minute video on what is it, and then how to do it and why it's important. An example of how it works. Just 1 minute in a video. And that's another social media post. It's another video on my YouTube channel. But it's also 200 words of a transcript for a blog post. And if I have 10 tips, I have 2,000 words for a decent length listicle blog post. And I have a process that takes those things and then expands them and uses them again. And I mean, I just described a social post, doing social videos as another post, using the transcript as a blog, and putting it on my YouTube channel. So that's 4 things from just a couple of tips and a 1-minute narrative on each one. And that's the beginning of the process that goes through coming up with checklists, worksheets, coming up with free courses online, paid courses online. And once you have a paid course, you have the first draft of your book, because a paid course is organized content to teach someone to solve a problem. And you've already gone through the process of refining it and organizing it and structuring it and having activities and giving specific advice and giving examples. You get the transcript from that. Then your job is to tidy that transcript, work out where the gaps are, and then you have the first draft of your book. If you have 90 minutes, an hour and a quarter, 75 to 90 minutes of recorded content, you have over 20,000 words, which is enough for the first draft of a book.
Oh my God, this is amazing. Like, this is really what gets me super excited. Oh my God, yes. And I remember that a few months ago you were here and we were talking about how to repurpose content. And I remember that you had 25 ways to repurpose one single piece of content. You can repurpose it 25 ways. Actually, during our conversation, which was live, you added a 26 method. By the way, how many do you have now?
I think it's still that. So we've got, where are we here? I've got the 16. Here are 16 of them. So social media content, I need to adjust my screen. Sorry. So we've got, starts with social media content, then YouTube videos, short blog posts, longer blog posts, newsletters, checklists, worksheets, free Udemy courses, paid courses, and then books come in here at number 10. And there's two different categories of books, and then workbooks, corporate courses, high ticket programs, and so on. Those are the first 16. And then there's also this list. So you can turn your video transcript or audio into a non-guest based podcast, because once you've recorded a video, you can just take the audio out. Not every podcast requires guests. So you can do it in podcasts. You can put it in something called Brain Bumps, Score App, Lead Magnets, do it in Prezi, which is how this like overlay works. Tips, books, all sorts of other things. So I'm up at 27 now.
27. See, one more. Next time I'll interview you, there will be 28 or even more. And by the way, Chris, I'm not impressed. I have to tell you something, guys. I'm still impressed, but I'm not as impressed by, this presentation that Chris has just showed us. Why? Because I've seen it before. Like I saw it last time that Chris was on the show, right? But you might be super impressed now because it's the first time that you've seen it. This is called Prezi, right, Chris? What is it exactly?
It's a company called Prezi.com. Comes up like this. And it's a presentation screen overlay. There are two types, and I have a very strong opinion on this. Prezi is a great company, but they provide two things. One is a web application. The other is a desktop application. Use the desktop application. What I just did by putting stuff on the screen, this is the desktop app. It is simple, it is quick, it works in every video sharing platform, and it is very fast. The web app is slow, is complicated, it's fancy, but it's really complicated compared to the desktop app. So use the desktop app. It's brilliant. It probably made, not probably, I know this because I track my time. It made my content creation for training videos between 5 and 10 times faster, creating the actual material and recording and delivering it 5 to 10 times faster.
Yeah. Wow. And I know that you track your time because you have an unlimited amount of hours that you can work every week, right? Chris, how many hours do you work per week?
28 is a good week.
28 is a good week. Yes, exactly. Yes. And Chris and I were having a conversation before coming on live, and he said, oh my God, this week, actually, I get to work 6 hours a day instead of just... And we're like, yes, we are entrepreneurs. So entrepreneurs, like employees will say, oh my God, I have to work for 6 hours. Entrepreneurs are like, oh my God, today I get to work for 6 hours, one more hour than usual.
Exactly.
That's why from Chris, we don't only learn to communicate effectively, but we actually learn time management as well and productivity indirectly, right?
Glad I can help.
Yes, absolutely. One of your books needs to be about productivity, I think. That is awesome. Let me have a look at chat. So Martina's writing, oh, I love Chris's process. I need to rewatch to take notes. Exactly. Or you can you can have this interview transcribed, right, Chris?
Yes, yeah, you could use, and that's where finding tools is incredibly helpful. There's a time for money component. And when I started, was when I left full-time employment and started being a communications instructor and an author, I was conscious of every penny that I was spending, but I wasn't conscious of every minute I was spending. And now that has shifted. And there's a really important change in my mindset in that time is finite. Yes, money is finite as well, but in the long term, I will get more money. And equally, or conversely, in the long term, I will have less time because it's going away and I will expire at a certain point. And so finding ways to save myself time makes sense. And transcriptions is one of those. I use a service called Happy Scribe, and I'll put it up here. There are others, so it's happyscribe.com. Other services are available. I'm not an affiliate of this one, otherwise I'd be pinging you with my links. But for something like 20 cents a minute per minute of audio, I get a transcript. And the transcript is, for me, about 95% accurate. This is automated. It's done very, very quickly. I can pay for a higher quality transcript, but I don't need it. There's a good enough component. And getting someone else to do transcripts, and it's an automatic thing. I just upload my videos and then I get an email when it's ready. That saves me hours and hours of trying to transcribe something, or using the free YouTube workaround where you look for the subtitles on YouTube and then download them and mess about with the formats. There are lots of ways you can do this for free, but you end up paying in time instead. So finding services that save time are so important when you have a limited amount.
Yes, absolutely. Oh my God, I love this. I love this. And Martina, by the way, was also right. Yeah, I love Prezi. Thanks for the tip. Exactly. Yes. I'm sure it doesn't only happen on a personal PR show, Chris. I think every time you use Prezi in one of your presentations, Zoom and so on, everybody is like shocked in a positive sense, like pretty impressed.
Yes.
You're used to it now. It's like, yes, I know people get impressed.
It's so much, it makes such an impression that in my corporate training, when I deliver corporate training, I now, for new clients, about four sort of screenshots in, I put prezi.com up on the screen because someone is going to ask. And it's happened in every single client has asked. So now I just preempt the question. And after the intro, I'm like, just before we begin, if you're wondering what all this stuff is, it's Prezi, it's great, blah, blah, blah. Great. Now that question's out of your heads. Let's move on with the rest of the stuff.
Oh my God, you should be a brand ambassador for Prezi.
But they have asked. It's a time thing. It's a time thing. Maybe next year. Please,
let's talk about this. Not now if you don't want to, but let's talk about this because this is my job, to do like, partnerships between brands and influencers. Certainly. By the way, Bilou is here and she's meowing at you. Yes. Anyway, she's meowed a few times. So I was like, yes, Chris is a communications instructor. That's why he can also talk to cats. Okay, cool. So that's why even cats react. Okay, Karen is watching us. Hi, Karen. She's in Ecuador now. I don't know the pronunciation in English. Yes. So Martina is watching. Karen is watching from Ecuador. Martina is watching from Boston. Then we have Rory, probably watching from the States. Yes. So we have a little bit of an international crowd here. But Chris, should we go back to the book for a second and talk about how the book wrote itself? Yes.
Yes. So in the process of creating content, sorry, do you have a follow-up question? Sorry, I dived in there.
I can ask it later, not to worry. Please.
Go in.
Not to worry. Really, because probably it's connected to what you're about to say anyway. Thank you. Otherwise, I'll ask you. Thanks.
All right, fair enough. So in the process of creating my content, going from the idea to creating social content, I then start creating more valuable things like checklists and worksheets. Very, very simple to do, but so taking 10 tips about emails, and I had do these 10 things. Well, if I turned each one into a question and said, do you do this? Yes or no? Well, suddenly that's a checklist, and it's a self-assessment checklist. And it's just changing a few words in the question, and the difference in value for the end user is considerable. because it's the magic step between the theory and reality. And it helps them understand where they are against what they're trying to achieve. So they've got some way to measure themselves. They start to engage in the process. Going through that process of coming up with the tips, turning them into worksheets and questions and so on, makes me rethink about the topic again from a different perspective. So I go in iterations and cycles through the topic. When you sit down and write a book end to end, you're trying to just get everything out of your head and go. The time, a lot of the time beyond just typing, is coming up with the ideas, organizing the ideas, separating one idea into two, finding where ideas duplicate and getting rid of one of them. But when you do it in these very small steps, these very small increments, that process happens as you go. So I'll come up with 10 tips. When I start recording the video, I'll go, oh, this one actually I don't agree with anymore, so I won't do that. This one I think is 2. These 2 are kind of the same, so I'll combine them. And I also come up with different phrasing every time I talk about or write about the tip. And those multiple attempts at trying to describe something comes up with sometimes some really nice language or a new way of describing it, which I can then explore. Now, as this goes to the book, there's a couple of things. One is a checklist, once you've created it, is an immediate add-in to the book. That's a page of a book written right there. It's a valuable thing. It's also a downloadable resource that drives people to your site. So when you sell a book on Amazon, they can still come to your site. You can get the valuable email address by reusing that content. So that's the first bit of how the book writes itself. You come up with these checklists as part of your social content just by converting tips, and voila, you've got a few pages in your book. The next thing is when you create your courses. So I'm skipping a bunch of steps in the process, but when you come to create courses and you've organized content into modules or sections, and you've ordered things because you have to teach this before you teach that, that's your chapter structure for the book. And because you've gone through the cycles of going from here are just a handful of ideas in a random order, then you've talked about them in video. So you're thinking about what's the best order, and then you've put them in a checklist and you start reordering them again. All of those turn into chapter headings, subheadings, sections for the book. And then the transcripts for the videos in your paid course are the content that go under those headings. So when I create a paid course, which is time and effort, that draws on everything I've done beforehand. And then I take the paid course, and the outline of that course is the outline structure of the book. And then the transcripts, which I pay for, are done in 10 minutes, are then copy and pasted into those sections. And then I slot in the activities, which have also been part of the course. And that's the first draft written. It still needs tidying, still needs editing. There's a lot of work after that. But that first draft is organized. You've also pulled in from research from everywhere else, because if you're creating a paid course, you should be looking at what other courses are there out there. What are the top books saying? What are your potential, I say competitors, but actually your potential collaborators? What are they doing? Where are the gaps in the market? All of that research has fed into your course, and that research does double duty as research for the book as well.
Yes, exactly. Oh my God. And the course that you're talking about, that was the paid course, right? That was not the free of charge course.
It was the paid course. Exactly. I did look at including some of the free stuff, and I had a lot of content that I didn't use in the book. And then, so it was 11 hours to get to a beta reader stage, and I sent it out to 13 or 15 people to read and give feedback. And the feedback that came back doubled the length of the book. Normally it's the other way around. I'm like, I'll cut stuff out. I had people ask really simple questions that made me go, oh, how did I miss that? I'm gonna have to go back and do the course, like increase the course. Because somebody said, love what you did with subject lines for single topics. How do you do that for multiple topics? And I realized I hadn't covered that at all. So like, oh, but that was great. That was a whole section that ended up being something like 20 or 30 pages scattered throughout the book in various places. The beta feedback then, or beta, or however you want to pronounce that word, was what took that first draft and developed it into a final book. And you're going to do that process no matter what approach you take to creating your first draft. So the beta process and then the editing, etc., that's the same for every book. But getting to that first draft is a monumental effort. And you can do it in two ways. You can sit and write, in which case you're doing it in the dark with no input, and you don't get any value until you produce that that first draft.
Yes.
Or you can do it in this incremental way and get tons of value by creating your social content, giveaways, thinking through the process, creating courses, stuff you can sell, and then oh, look, I've got a book out of it at the end. Brilliant. So you save all that time and get a ton of extra value along the way.
Absolutely. And I love the fact that the content that you put in the book in those 11 hours, let's say, is already kind of pre-vetted, if you think about it, because it was already vetted in different channels. It's not that you are, like you said, in a room in the dark writing for 3 years, no, let's say 6 months, without even having anybody look at your content, right? And to me, what you've just said represents the lean approach in this case, right? They talk about the lean startup, the lean approach when it comes to startups. Yours is a very lean approach to content creation or book writing. Yes. And I mean, that this stuff already works. Of course, then in the second phase, when you ask people to read the first draft of your book, of course, you get even more feedback, and that will be very useful feedback. And in your case, it even doubled the length of the book. Absolutely. But the first part, the draft already had immense value because it came from channels that were where the content had already been vetted and endorsed and consumed and applied by people. Awesome.
Oh, yes. Yeah,
genius.
And all of that feedback it's gold. It's absolute gold. Comments on YouTube videos, likes or comments on social posts, feedback on the free Udemy course. Oh my gosh, there's nothing better than having somebody rant and give really bad feedback about a course on a free Udemy course, because great, this is now I know what to fix next time. And it's why beta reading is so important, because I would be infinitely happier to receive a scathing, horrendous review from a beta reader before I've written a book than have the 1-star review on Amazon after it's launched. And you can never get rid of that. Give me all the terrible feedback before I publish the book, and I have a chance to do something about it. And as you say, it comes in all the courses and the social posts. And if someone disagrees with something in a social post, brilliant. Let's test that idea. Let's find what I really believe is the right answer to this, and let me get other people's opinions and form a better, more coherent and complete answer. So yeah, the feedback is baked in along the process, which again makes writing hopefully a better book. The reviews seem to be pointing in the right direction so far, but it makes for better value content, getting other people's voices in there.
Absolutely. So right. Thank you so much for this angle, because these days it looks like we need to ship all the time and do so quickly. And sometimes we forget the quality, actually. So sometimes, of course, we want to be quick, but not at the expense of the quality. So thank you so much for bringing this up. This is so important. Yes, exactly. Oh my God, I love this. And so if we talk about, for a second, if we talk about what happens, even after the beta phase, beta, whatever it is, we want to pronounce it, right? So we have the 11 hours to come to the draft, right? The first draft. Okay, then we have the beta phase in which we get feedback from, in your case, 39 readers, right? Was it 39?
13 readers.
13. Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah, 13. Yeah, I was like, how can you manage 39,
Yeah, that would have been too much. That exactly. 13. I was really pleased with 13. That was good.
Totally, exactly. Yes. And so what happens afterwards? What is the third phase? Is there a third phase?
Well, after that point, you're in normal book creation mode. So any book's advice on how to write books, at that point, you're in that process of working out which of that feedback you want to respond to, but you don't have to react to all of it. You just have to consciously choose to take the pieces you want and know what you're going to ignore or disagree with, or sort of only use part of. Yes. And then I do multiple rounds of review. So usually 2 or 3. I do it in 2 different ways. So I got this time I got the 13 sets of feedback, and I then went through and did some fairly significant revisions. As I said, the book almost doubled in length and had a complete restructure. It was you wouldn't have recognized it as the same book. A lot of the same content, obviously, but different structure, different layout, answering using the same content but to answer slightly different questions. And so a complete reshake. And then I sent that draft to some of the original readers and 3 new ones. Because original readers are influenced by what they've already read. And also they've already read a book. So asking them to read a whole book again that's asking quite a lot. And they're less likely to catch things because as humans, we skim stuff that we recognize and we go through it faster. But I wanted to get some of their feedback on the changes. Are they good, bad, indifferent? And then I went to 3 new people to get feedback from them with a fresh set of eyes. And if that process had really thrown up some bad feedback or more changes, I'd have done the process one more time. But in this case, the feedback was universally positive. So I knew that I was ready to go to the formal editing stage from that point onwards.
Which is phase 4, probably, right?
Yeah. Yes. At that point, I'm just in like production mode. That's just create the book. I don't have a name for that.
That's me always trying to create frameworks, my Virgo brain.
Yeah, it's good. Well, then let's explore that for a moment. So the framework is coming up with, it's doing all the work to explore the idea and come up with the content. So that's the social to sellable, reusable iterations. Then there's the beta phase, and then there's editing, cover design, and launch. Exactly. Which you can break that down into a bunch of different stages as well. But
you are in the stage of launching right now, right? We said at the beginning of this conversation that you launched your book officially last week.
Officially a week ago, yes.
Not officially, like a few days earlier.
Right? Yes, yeah.
Exactly.
Which it turned out there was a benefit to that, because it meant that some of my early readers could leave Amazon reviews. So when I officially launched the book, it launched with a bunch of reviews already in place rather than that empty, no feedback. And that, I believe, helped the launch because it gave credibility for people who were looking at it the first time. So it was, I may do that again next time.
Wait, the pre-launch?
Yes. Yeah. It was, I lucked out. And the good news is Amazon gives you 30 days to sort of rank in the hot new releases. And so I lost a week. I technically, the paperback published on Amazon on the 25th of November. Oh, no, 28th of November, like a week early. But that didn't matter because I still had 3 more weeks to do all of the effort to try and get to the bestseller ranks and so on. So it turned out to not, happy mistake.
Yeah, no, exactly. Absolutely. And as we said at the beginning of this, it seems that when people give you lemons, you can make lemonade like crazy, like you leverage anything that happens and you repurpose everything. So that is great. And it's great that you're sharing this, what you learned from this experience with us as well. So thank you so much. But this is something that reminds me of something that we do in public relations when we have a press release, and usually it's something big. Actually, we already provide it to a few select publications, maybe the most prestigious ones. And in order for them to already prepare the article. So when then the press release officially goes out to the whole press, then that particular publication or 2 or 3, key publications, they already have the article ready, and then they can immediately, basically publish it. So they are the ones, it looks like they are the ones who have the, let's say, a sort of exclusivity on the piece of news, right? Yes. And then they get traction because as soon as the news comes out and people start talking about it, and then they start Googling it, but then they don't find many articles because it will take a few hours to write them.
Those at the top of the list come in. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's a similar strategy to your strategy that happened by accident, but I think that you will use it again, right?
Yes.
Embargo publishing. Yeah.
But when you launch a book, there's a lot that you can do prior to the launch, even the official launch, to get reviews on day one. And there's a lot of effort, and there's well-defined processes for getting a launch team, engaging with them, helping them do reviews, reminding them, incentivizing, etc., so that on launch day or in launch week you get reviews. And but it still takes time. There was a big launch of a book on December the 6th from, I can't remember his name. It's a huge influencer. During the pandemic, he did a lot of stuff on an empty theater stage. And he just published a book called Bold Ones. And a week later, he's only got one review. He has an audience of millions. He only had one review. And part of the reason is it takes a few days for the reviews to come in on Amazon. So even when you submit them, it can take up to 3 days for them to appear. So if you have this huge rush on day one and people see no reviews, they might be like, oh, that's not great.
No, absolutely not. Wow. What's the name of the book again, please, Chris?
Bold Ones.
Bold Ones. Thank you.
I'll see if I can look this up as well. I should know. I was talking about this yesterday and I can't remember his names.
Sean Kanungo.
Yes.
Practical and inspirational book that shows you how to use innovation and disruption to become truly unstoppable. Okay, let's have a look at Amazon. How many reviews? There's one. There's still one.
And he's a huge influencer. His audience is massive. Now I don't know what's going on with the reviews, but we published on the same day, and I was expecting him to be like already at 130 reviews on like after 1 or 2 days. So something isn't working with his launch review process with what he's doing.
I mean, if he's such an influencer, why didn't he have somebody who knew how to launch a book? Number one. Number two, this person could be you, Chris. You can reach out to him. We're always thinking about networking and adding value to people. He would love you if you reach out, I would say. I think.
I'll add that to the list. That can be an hour 29 thing. Maybe that should be the name of my long-term to-do list, is hour 29.
Exactly. Yes, that's true. Oh my God, I love how ideas come up when we're just having conversations. Yes. But Chris, unfortunately, we are approaching the end of today's conversation, because I know that you will come on the show like another, third one. Please come to the show. Every time that you want to announce anything, you're always welcome here. But I'm going to ask you something that I ask everybody before we say goodbye. And probably I asked you this question already 2 months ago when you came on the show for the first time. So, Chris, what is a question that I haven't asked you over the past 41 minutes, but I should have asked you?
This is the point that I guess, so many things. What's my shoe size? Favorite color? Where can people find out more? Or here's the question: if people want to know more about my process, how do they find out more?
Oh, so Chris, if people want to know, our friends want to know how to find out more, more about the process, how can they find out more? Where should they go?
At the moment, they should reach out to me one-to-one and get in touch with me through my site, through email or a social platform. And I'm having one-to-one conversations with people about a program that I run twice a year called the Social to Sellable program. And I teach my entire process. And I have part of what I put on the screen earlier was some of what I teach. And it is being turned into a book as well. So the book will eventually become available. But if you'd like to know like the details of my process, get in touch. We'll have a 30-minute conversation and see if it's going to be the right thing for you. And so get in touch. We can have a chat. And I teach and I sell the methodology that I use to create this stuff.
That's great. First you create it and then you sell it. It's amazing,
and then I use the course to create the book, which will then sell more courses.
Oh my God, this is such a virtuous circle. I love this. Yes, there's so much to learn from you. So please come back on the show very, very soon, not in August 2023, but already at the beginning, Q1, please, of 2023. You're always welcome here. And let me see if we have any questions, by the way. Yeah, Karen says, yes, she's in Ecuador. Exactly. No, other than that, we don't have any questions. We still have viewers, but no questions. I think it's fine for now, but in case our friends have questions, they can always reach out to you, right, Chris? By the way, do you have a Calendly link? Because we can even put a Calendly link in here. If people really want to have this conversation straight away with you, how about they book it? Is it possible?
Yeah, it is. In fact, I can put it up on the screen now, and I'll send it to you afterwards for the notes.
Thank you. That'd be amazing.
Done.
Yeah, Cha will make the post tomorrow. She will write the caption tomorrow, and then she will include all of your links, including Calendly.
Okay, so I'll put it up on my screen.
Yes, thank you. Oh yeah, Chris Fenning, 30 minutes. That's perfect. Yes.
Nice and simple. Everything is simple.
Yeah, everything is simple. It has to be simple because time is a finite resource, right? Yes. And we need to make things simple and effective and efficient and everything else. So then we can live more, or we can even produce more. For me, for you, it's about living more, spending time with your daughter and so on. For me, it's like, I want to be as efficient as possible so I can produce even more. I can do even more stuff. I'm in this phase of my life.
It's a bit for me, it's both. Like I'm constrained by, in a good way, but constrained by being the primary parent and being on, in all of the family roles, school drop-offs, pickups, dance classes, etc. But with the limited time I've got available, I want to produce as much as possible and as much that's valuable and tested and so on. And that's what led me to create the process.
Absolutely.
So I expect between 2 and 5 books next year. That's the goal for next year.
That was going to be my next question. So how often do you want to produce to publish a book? And I thought, yeah, maybe every 6 months I publish a book. What, you want to publish 3 to 5 books in 2023?
2 is the minimum. 5 is a potential, but I have. It will all depend how the first quarter goes. I'm working with someone on the potential game-changing book for a particular topic, and the reaction that I'm getting from my corporate clients is just phenomenal. And if that goes forward, then there'll be a lot of focus on that book, and I might have to just put up with only 2 books in the year. But if that one doesn't move forward, I have 5 lined up to put out.
Keep us posted. You have to come back on the show and we have to talk about this. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Chris Fenning. He works 28 hours a week max in a good week, right? See how much he produces. This is the output. This is only the books and the courses. And then actually he does have clients as well, right? So he works with clients as well within the 28 hours. Oh my God, this is a dream come true. Like, just to learn by osmosis from you. Thank you, Chris. Thank you for gifting us time. This 1 hour, 8 hours. Come back soon, please.
I will do. Thank you so much, Jessica.
Thank you. Yes. And guys, I will see you in just 15 minutes for the next episode of the Personal PR Show. Chris, you're welcome to come if you want. We're going to talk about how to make people like VIPs want to spend time with you, because usually they're so busy and they're like, yeah, they don't even have time for their own family. Why should they spend time with me, be interested in me, right? So we have developed ways with Derek Loudermilk to, he's got like Adam Grant and so on his podcast, for example, right? Oh, wow. So so
I'll listen in while it's pickup time from school, so I'll listen in as I'm cycling.
Yeah. Exactly, or the recording, but yeah, awesome, perfect. Thank you so much, Chris, again. And you guys, see you in just a few minutes. All right. Bye, everybody. Ciao.
Bye, Jessica. Bye.
Thank you so much.